We are counting down to the men's final at Roland Garros, where Rafael Nadal will take on Casper Ruud to talk about what this clash means to Nadal and a young Ruud in the Grand Slam final for the very first time. I'm joined by former Indian tennis professional and tennis sports expert Somdev Devvarman on the broadcast. Well, Som, thank you very much for joining us. Now, Nadal has said ahead of this clash that healing his foot injury is more important for him than winning a title. Would you say that would be at the back of his mind when he goes out to play the big final?
Yeah, I read that comment as well. I guess it tells you about how much he actually struggles with his foot, and I mean the fact that he just wants to live a pain-free life. I think this is something that people often don't see in athletes. The wear and tear in a professional athlete's body is sometimes forgotten, because who's going to ask a retired athlete what their body feels like? So I completely understand where Rafa is coming from. He's playing through pain. He's played through pain for the last, easily for the last 4 or 5 years, maybe more. And it's very visible, because you can see his tournament schedule has changed. His scheduling has changed dramatically over the last few years. There's many times he's skipped majors. Master Series. This year already he skipped Monte Carlo, which he really never likes to skip, and that was because of a stress fracture on his ribs. The foot injury is something that's been chronic. It's been bothering him. It's been painful for years now.
Now let's talk about the semi-final clash. What was turning out to be a Titanic of a game had a cruel finish. The match was at 7-6, 6-6, second set tied, and then that injury to Zverev. How do you assess the two players, and would you agree with me that Zverev was the better of the two? He was the better one on the night?
Unfortunate, but that happens. It happens in sport. It doesn't happen very often in tennis, obviously, because it's a non-contact sport. But for all of us who are sports fans, sports lovers, we've seen this happen. I think I mentioned it yesterday. There's over 1,500 ankle-related injuries every single year at the NBA. It's obviously it's a contact sport, and ankles are vulnerable over there. Hopefully now the injury won't be too serious, because certainly, in my opinion, he's out for 6 to 8 weeks. At least that's what general reports say. But it could be 3 months, and I guess we'll have to wait and see till the MRI comes out to know exactly what went wrong and how long it's going to take. But the sad news obviously is that he was playing an incredible match. He was troubling Rafa. He definitely seemed like he had a shot to win.
He was playing an incredible match, and we did see Rafael Nadal struggle. What are the holes you saw in Nadal's game that he needs to plug ahead of the final?
It's tough to say, because in his previous match against Novak, Rafa was flawless, absolutely flawless. Played about as well as he could have played, started off with the right kind of energy, with the right kind of tactic, and then executed as well. And obviously, the feel coming into a match like against Sasha Zverev, where he is the favorite, it will change the way he approaches the match. It will change the risk taking involved. It will be a lot more measured. And so, and from the other perspective, Sasha is coming into the match saying, "I have nothing to lose." Yes, did we expect that kind of result? I don't think so. I think all of us expected Rafa to be a little bit more dominant with his forehand and move Sasha around, which he was obviously struggling to do, and credit for that goes to Sasha. So, in terms of Rafa, I don't think he has to change a whole lot in his particular match against Ruud in the final.
Now, Ruud had a fairly good clay court season. He made the semi-final in Rome, title in Geneva. How do you rate his game now?
Yes, undoubtedly, but Rafa did win a slam. Rafa did make finals of a Master Series in Indian Wells, and Rafa has been injured since that final in Indian Wells. So the circumstances have been completely different. I don't think X's and O's, will tell you the whole story. Ruud, on the other hand, is young. Rafa is 36, Ruud's 23. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't just base my prediction on who's won more clay court matches this year. I think you have to look at the history of both players. You have to look at exactly where they are in this position in their careers, in the season as well, and what all they have to deal with.
Right. So on beating Cilic en route to the final, it must have given Ruud a lot of confidence. He's so young, already made a Grand Slam semi-final. How difficult an opponent do you think he will be for Rafa?
Yeah, undoubtedly, because he does have a 2-0 head-to-head on Marin Cilic. I think in this particular match, Cilic started off the match as well as he could have. He was serving massive, really being super ultra-aggressive almost with his forehand and his backhand as well, not allowing Ruud to settle down. And as the match wore on, I did feel like the conditions got a little bit colder. And once they got colder, they got slower, which was a massive disadvantage for Marin. And I think Casper Ruud is just one of those players that, so young, already made a Grand Slam final. And, he's just one of those guys that seems to me that doesn't lose matches he's not supposed to lose. The funny thing, actually, going into this match is Casper Ruud spent a lot of time training in Spain. Guess where? At the Rafael Nadal Tennis Academy. So, when asked the question, how many of Rafa's 13 finals have you watched? Casper Ruud said, every single one of them.
Well, Som, I have to ask you before I let you go, Nadal's been saying that any match from now could be his last match. Would you say that his longevity will be in focus as we get into the into the Grand Slam final, which is the second Grand Slam final of the year?
I mean, is it something I expect? No. I didn't expect Pete Sampras to retire after he won the US Open either. Nobody did. And Pete just hung it up and said, I'm going to go out on a high. Now, I don't think Rafa Nadal is that kind of player. However, looking back at his interviews from the Australian Open, he was fairly open when he said he didn't know if he was going to be able to step on the court in 2022. His foot was actually that bad. So so it won't surprise me. Now here's the thing. Here's the thing that I find interesting. One is, on one hand, it won't really surprise me if Rafa goes ahead, wins the title, and then skips Wimbledon to look after his foot. But the problem, if he does that, is, he's won the first 2 slams, so the calendar slam is alive. So would he be now willing to, let go of a chance to win the calendar slam in 2022 at the age of 36 while going through the biggest, problems with his body and his foot? I mean, these stories are made only from legends. And so it will be sad. Obviously it will be sad to see if Rafa does, not play another match. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it'll be a much clearer sign, if we do get closer to that. But as of right now, I do expect Rafa to continue.
Calendar slam definitely is at stake for Rafael Nadal. Whether he can win one at 36 or not is something all of us will be eagerly watching. Thank you very much, Somdev Devvarman, for joining us on the broadcast. You can watch French Open final on Sony 6 and Sony 10 too.